And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Security Awareness Training. Do me a favor, and if you see that there is a chat on the right-hand side of your screen, if you're still learning left and right, that's okay. So are we? Do the L, and then whatever one doesn't look like an L, that is on your right side. Go ahead and click on the chat, and then put in there who you are. I don't need to know a whole description, but just name, where you're calling in from, and what is your favorite thing to have for Thanksgiving. Mine personally is mashed potatoes, but I cannot talk and type at the same time. Mike, what's yours?
Gravy. I'm from Oklahoma.
Gravy on everything. Perfect. Well, if you are like me, you are kind on the days and also trying to move and clean and have people over all at the same time. So we appreciate that you are actually taking time out of your busy schedules, also in the holiday season, to hang out with us. And here's why you should stick with us throughout this entire presentation. Number one, you're doing something good for the world. So every time that you don't click on a link that a bad guy sends, you are not giving them an easy win. So that is doing something good for the world there. You also could potentially get credit for being here. So if you're one of those people that it is a certification or if it is a mandate by your company to be here and get a little bit of security training, awesome. Let Ginny know who put in the chat first. So Ginny, you win points for what your favorite thing is for Thanksgiving. She will be able to help you get that credit that you need for your company attendance. And then also there is a survey at the end that Ginny as well will be shooting over. And then all you have to do is fill that out and let us know how we did today. So a little bit about who we are in case it's your first time here. If it's not your first time here, keep me honest and tell me if this is the same pitch I gave last time. We are Critical Insight and we do cybersecurity as a service. It's a fancy way of saying we have everything under one umbrella. So if you think about it for keeping the same theme as Thanksgiving, we are the turkey, the stuffing, the gravy, shout out to Mike, for all things that you need for security. But today we're really going to focus on that prepare side of it, which is really comes from our folks and our staff being educated on what it means to have that security culture here. So your presenters for today is Mike Hamilton. He's going to be leading the show here. He's a co-founder of Critical Insight, former CISO of Seattle, and a punk drummer, which if you ask him, that means he is not a musician. He just plays with musicians. Myself, I am Ellie Miller. I am your event host, which just means that I'm going to say hi in the beginning. And at the very end, I'm going to say goodbye. And my role here at Critical Insight is training and enablement. So again, that's why the survey is super helpful for me to understand if this was something that is helpful for you guys moving forward in your security journey. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and reiterate what I said and take it away?
Okie dokie. Thank you, Ellie, for that fabulous introduction. So I am here in the somewhat sterile environment of our Seattle office, sequestered in a room on Wi-Fi. So apologies in advance if any of that doesn't work. And we are going to rip through this because if you know the Seattle area, you know that there are people like me whose lives are driven by ferry schedules, and today is one of those days. So why are you here? Maybe you're here because your organization has records that if you lose them, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to get above the fold. It could end up with regulatory action, possibly class action suits. We don't want that. Maybe you're here because you're in the public sector and the services that you operate, all held up by IT, make toilets flush and water drinkable and fire department to get the house before it burns down. Thank you for being here. We don't want that stuff to fail. Maybe, as Ellie said, you're here because this is an annual requirement. Somebody wants you to be here. We don't care. Thank you for being here. What we want you to take away is that the internet is a bad place and Americans are extremely gullible. And if you put those things together, bad things happen. And we're going to talk about a lot of those bad things. We're talking about how to avoid them. Your passwords are under attack. Lots and lots and lots of attacks. Initial access into networks starts with phishing, which we'll explain, but it means somebody's trying to get you to give up a password, and it's coming from all sides now. Text messages, phone calls, social media, email, it's everywhere, and you need to be able to recognize it. And now, it's not just a shotgun blast that goes out across the internet hoping they scoop up 0.1% of their victims. Now it's targeted. They're going to go to LinkedIn. They're going to find out who can move money, who can authorize the movement of money for something called business email compromise, for example, which we'll talk about. Okay, so buckle up because we got some stuff to talk about. First of all, let's ground this in unwanted business outcomes. We use a whole bunch of spooky handshake language in this business, and nobody cares about scary Russian cyber buffer overflow SQL injection. What is going to cost the business money? It's unauthorized disclosure of records. It's theft through business email compromise. It's extortion through ransomware or denial of service. You can be used to attack others, or you can just get knocked down. All of these things are happening with a lot of regularity. These are the outcomes that we're trying to avoid here. So kind of pull your head out of the cyber nonsense. Think about these things. Okay, first, a little vocabulary. All right, so ransomware. All right, we have dumb words for things in this business. It's extortion. The way that this works is you get a little piece of unwanted software somewhere in your network. That's the way everything starts. Malware, right? Well, malware can monitor keystrokes. It can look for records to steal. It can snuff your network by encrypting everything in it so that it can't operate. That's what ransomware does. And then the extortion demand will come out of a printer, it'll come in a phone call, or sometimes show up at the door. Now, this is happening with alarming regularity. And so when I say getting a little piece of unwanted software in your network is the way this starts, this whole business we're going through today is about avoiding getting that piece of unwanted software on there that can mutate into something that's this bad. This particularly hits hospitals hard, and it's basically targeted at organizations that are critical, that cannot stand downtime because they're willing to pay that extortion demand. Okay, we don't want ransomware. Business email compromise. $3 billion was lost last year through business email compromise. This is one of the worst, costliest problems we have. It's got a couple of flavors. On the low end, I'm just going to send you an invoice. Maybe you'll pay it. I'm below your accounts payable threshold for we need to check this out. All right, that works a lot. Kind of in the middle, you get email from the CEO who's asking you to buy gift cards or create some kind of financial transaction. Maybe do an emergency wire transfer. We've seen that happen. Maybe it's change a bank routing number for a customer. Well, on the high end, it's all about changing that bank routing number. On the high end, an organization's email system gets compromised, so somebody bad is in the email system. They read a bunch of email and they find out, oh, we have this business relationship with this vendor out here. Okay, we're going to tell that vendor, well, actually, we're their vendor, and we're going to tell them through that email system, so it comes from a trusted source, that we're changing our bank routing number. We have a new, we were a Silicon Valley Bank customer. And so now, from now on, payments should be directed to this new bank that we're giving you these details right now. This happens all the time. It happened with Mary's Place in Seattle. That's a homeless shelter for women and children. Somebody got into Mary's Place email. They sent email to the city of Seattle, which was subsidizing Mary's Place, and they didn't find out that the payments had been redirected until $800,000 later. Happens all the time. We'll show you some examples of this. Cryptocurrency mining, a little piece of unwanted software gets on your computer. And what this one does is it starts to solve a cryptographic algorithm, which is a big math problem. And once it comes to a solution, it mints a coin, and the miner gets paid for that coin. Well, what happens to your computer? Well, it slows down. The fan won't turn off. You know, when power is cheap, or if you can find a place where power is cheap, like out in Wenatchee, Washington, where all the power comes from falling water, you just rack up computers out there, put them to work doing this stuff. It takes an immense amount of power. Or you can use compromised computers all over the world, put them to work doing it. That's what crypto mining is. And it's not just a computer like you think a computer, because our SOC operation has found this going on in a customer's VoIP phone system. So it's anything with a CPU. That's crypto mining. All right, how it starts. We're going to talk a couple of ways about this whole initial access, right? How they get in. The one we're going to leave out is somebody clicked on an attachment that was booby-trapped, because for the most part, that doesn't happen very frequently anymore. Email systems have been really good about laundering that stuff out. However, using personal email on a work computer that does not have those good filters, that's dangerous. All right, but we're leaving that part out for now. Here's how they break in and it works. They exploit vulnerabilities. This is one way to get in. What is a vulnerability? Let me give you an example. Long time ago, uh, Eric Allman was a graduate student writing a program called SendMail, one of the first MTAs, mail transport agent. It's not what you type your email into, it's when you hit send, where it goes, and how it figures out what the next hop is. That's what an MTA is. So he's coding up SendMail, and he's thinking, oh, now I need a variable for sender address. A sender address will never be more than 255 characters. So I'll just create a 255 byte buffer space for that variable. So what happens when you send in a piece of email and your return address is 257 characters long, or 512, or 762? You overflow the buffer. And if that hasn't been bounded properly, you can take your choice of executable code and punch it into the running stack of the computer, and now you own that computer. This happens all the time. This has now become one of the preferred methods for the country, specifically of China, to compromise our intelligence networks, federal agencies, things like this. They have kind of gotten away from the whole phishing, give me your password so we can just walk into the network, and exploit vulnerabilities. So what does this mean? It means keep your stuff patched. That's what it means. So when there is a public announcement of an application or a piece of software that you use that is exposed to the internet and says, this is vulnerable, here's the patch, you need to stop what you're doing and apply that patch. If you're on the IT team, this needs to be treated like an incident, because the scanning for vulnerable systems starts 5 minutes after the announcement is made. It is now a race pretty much every time. So Cisco, Fortinet, there's VMware, there's all kinds of things that periodically get vulnerable, and you need to get it patched very quickly. For a home and business, Microsoft just patches your computer, and it just tells you got to reboot now to activate the patches. So if you look down at the bottom of your tray in the right hand, there's a little orange dot down there. You need to reboot your computer as soon as we're done here. iPhone, they'll get nasty with you. It'll just say, okay, look, I've been asking you to reboot. Go ahead and go to bed, because when you wake up, your phone's all new. Android and Linux, which are effectively the same operating system, you need to review the administrative settings and make sure it's set to auto patch so that you don't have to, initiate that process every time. All right, so avoid network break-ins and device break-ins by updating regularly, applying patches when they come out. All right, that's how they break into networks. Let's talk about a user tripping over a compromised website. What is a compromised website? Read this for me. Okay, you're reading this and you're saying, hey, Mike, this is obviously hexadecimal encoded. Well, you're right. We found this in a log file at Seattle Public Library because we were getting phone calls saying, hey, I went to go look at my local library branch and now my computer's all hosed up. So we went over, started looking at logs, and found this in the log file. So let's hex decode this, and here's what it really says. These are structured query language commands, and the part in red there means when you look up your local library branch, you're getting a present on the side from China that you don't know anything about. All right? How did this happen? Well, it says SQL injection, structured query language. Here's how it happens. When you interact with any internet application, the way that you do it is through form fields. You type stuff into a form field. You go to eBay, green depression glass, whatever. So a well-formed, mature application like eBay will take what you typed in there and say, okay, wait a minute. Does this look weird? Any special characters? Does this fit the pattern of any kind of attack? Okay, go ahead, database, give them what they want. If it is not a mature application, you can put direct structured query language commands into that form field, pass it straight to the database, have it barf up its contents, or worse, inject something into it so that the person that comes by next gets the little present on the side. Here's what's going on in the background. You're being redirected and you don't know anything about this. You hit a site, perfectly good yesterday, got injected overnight, and now you're being redirected to all these bad places. Okay, who knew Macedonia was such a bad place, right? So how do you avoid this? Avoid links that you get coming from all kinds of places in text messages and email that come in with no context that you did not expect, even if it looks like it came from someone you know. And we'll show you an example of that. Don't hit links that come in with no context, no explanation, doesn't look right, is part of a bigger message trying to fool you. Beware links. All right, number 3, credential theft and abuse. This is kind of the biggie here, right? If you look at this graph on the right, data's a little older, but it still holds. You see the rise in sites that Microsoft has identified as phishing sites. Why? Because they look like a Microsoft login page, and Microsoft knows that's not Microsoft. The corresponding drop in sites that push malware on you. Why is this way? Because the control that will reliably fail is the one between the ears. I can generate some exotic exploit to crack open a vulnerability, hope I can get that off to a user with a vulnerable system, hope I fool that user into clicking, or I can get you to give me a password and I just walk into the network. All right. All right. So what else happens with passwords? What is this whole bit about credential stuffing? All right. Credential stuffing is when I have a database of a whole bunch of disclosed passwords, like Yahoo lost 1 billion passwords as they were going through an acquisition, did not help their valuation. So those billion passwords are out there. And if I take every one of those billion and I try every one of those with your account, no matter where it is, PayPal, Bank of America, your place of work, anything, I'm probably going to get a hit. Why? Because while there is an infinite number of passwords and passphrases that you can use, there's a top 100 that a whole lot of people use. So if you are on this call right now and your password is 123456789, congratulations. That's the top password that people use. Absurdly. The other way it happens is you share a password and they find your password in the Yahoo dump because you were a Yahoo Mail customer. Well, let's see if that same password is used with Amazon. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. So don't share passwords. Now, this credential stuffing can also happen another way, and it's a low and slow attack. So I'll take that billion passwords and I'll try password number 1 with user 1 in your organization, user 2, user 3, didn't get it. Start password number 2, user 1, user 2, user. Eventually, I am going to get into your network. Users are not good about picking passwords. That's why we talk about multi-factor authentication so much, and we'll land on that later. Okay, here's an example. This is credential stuffing against me. We do quite a bit of online marketing, talking about events in the world, the Cyber Week in review, and frequently we have to talk about China. So this is China showing their displeasure with myself. And so I was getting a login failure every 20 seconds for about a week. And you can see that they're coming from Kuwait and India and China and Russia, and they were coming from all over the world. This is a credential stuffing attack. If you have an authenticator app on your phone, I use the Microsoft Authenticator, you can go to show recent activity, and if there have been login failures on your account, you can see those right here. Right? That's credential stuffing. All right, now let's look at some bait. We have talked about vocabulary. We've talked about breaking into networks through vulnerability exploit. We've talked about driving over a booby-trapped website, and we've talked about credential stuffing and why you shouldn't share passwords and how to look for yourself being under that kind of attack. Now let's look at some bait. First, know that there are things about us that aid these people. Okay, the whole thing about limited time offer, deep discount, anything that's in current events. I remember that, and this was some time ago when I worked for the city of Seattle, one that was particularly effective, Saddam Hussein found alive. Oh, I got to read that. Click. Right? Authority bias, right? You get a piece of email from the CEO and you're just not going to be careful and look at that return address and see that's a Gmail address coming in from somewhere, right? And see, over 90% begin with a phishing email, right? So we want you to see the bait and we want you to realize that there are these things about yourself that are going to make you act on the bait when you see it. And hopefully your radar is going to go up and you do not act. All right, we talked about business email compromise. Here, this is an email to me from Garrett Silver, our CEO, whose email address is not chief_exec.officer1@aol.com. No. And you can see in here, Garrett is talking about buying Amazon gift cards for the employees. All right. So Don't think about the grammatical problems in here. Remember this tactic you heard. Anything that's asking you, coming from a position of authority, perceived authority, that's trying to get you to do something financial should be viewed with mistrust. Okay. And your eyes should go straight up to that return address and go, no, that's not Garrett's email. And look at the banner. This email originated from outside the company. Every one of you has that banner on your email. You've got to see this stuff. Microsoft will never tell you these things, ever. They will tell your administrators these things. Your mailbox is never going to be 100% full. There's an infinite amount of space in Microsoft Office 365 if you're still using on-premise Exchange. Storage could be a problem, but your administrators are going to be far in front of that before it's an actual problem. And again, Microsoft will not tell you this. If you look at every one of these, the return address, tpaperperformance.com. Come on, you got to see the information in front of you. Now, in every one of these, if you go hit any link in here, what's going to happen? A login page is going to pop up, despite the fact that you are already logged in. Okay? Now, when something pops up and asks you for a password, stop what you are doing. Look at all of the information in front of you, ask a question if you need to, and you're going to delete and move on. You're actually probably going to report this to somebody and move on so that they can remove it from others' mailboxes who may be more gullible than yourself. All right? Key thing here is all those return addresses, those are completely bogus. It's so easy to see. There are other tells in these messages too, right? There's grammar, there's the urgency effect right here. You can hover over links and find out, hey, that doesn't go where I want that to go. The biggest thing is you get a message like this, you did not expect it. Okay. Yes, you can go in here and you can look, and I will tell you, anything that comes from onmicrosoft.com should immediately be treated with a great deal of suspicion. All right. Poor grammar, obviously, that's all getting better with AI, generative AI, concocting these phishing messages now. But Microsoft doesn't talk to you this way, especially, dear customer. Guess what? Microsoft knows your name, or at least your username. All right, a QR code is a URL. Don't go scanning these things willy-nilly, especially if they come in from email and they're trying to tell you something about this. When you interact with a link in a phishing message, you could be interacting with, and a lot of people do this because they'll go, I'm not going to give up my password. I just want to see how lame the site they set up is. All right, you click on that link or you scan a QR code because that is a link, that is a URL. And what happens is you are interacting with a script, and that script running on bad guy computer pulls off your session token, presents it to Microsoft. Microsoft says, hey, good looking session you got there. I've never seen your device before. Here's the challenge for the second factor. Routed back to you, and you go, oh, you just gave up Office 365, Teams, SharePoint, and every single sign-on application in your whole environment. That fast. Seen it happen. All right, free offers. No, you're not going to get free stuff for your opinion. All right, when something sounds too good to be true, it is, especially if the internet told it. All right, no, you're not going to get a tool cabinet. No, there's not just 9 rewards remaining. There never were any rewards remaining at all. You do not get free stuff for your opinion. And these are going around all the time. CVS, Ace Hardware, Starbucks, you name it. They're all saying, hey, just interact with our little survey here and we'll give you something for free. Don't do it. Oh, here's CVS here. Look, we can get $350 to $450 on 20 to 30 minutes of work. Sign me up. No, delete this. It came from a number you don't recognize. You did not expect it. It sounds too good to be true. And they're giving you a shortened link. Especially these shortened links, you can't trust them. Do not trust them. All right? Not credible. Didn't expect it. Delete, move on. Hey, this thing you don't even know you own has expired. When you get something like this out of the blue, you got to ask yourself, even if you bought a laptop and something like this came pre-installed on it, did you ever give Symantec your email address to reach out to you? No, you didn't. No. So you need to verify whether or not you have something like this on your computer. The answer is probably no. If you hit renew now, you are very likely just going to give up a credit card number, and that's not good. Okay, LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a place of much badness. So I think we've all heard about, fake job offers and things like that end up being booby trapped. So here is a fake job offer. Hey, Goldman Sachs says you are a good candidate for their job. Right. So every link on the page goes the same place. Right. If you think you're going to download their app for free or you're going to see all searches, link's the same, and it goes to a dental office. So you're probably thinking to yourself, ha, I sussed out the fact that this is fake. I see that the return address is fake. I'm so good at this. Take the extra step. Submit that link to virustotal.com and let it tell you what it thinks about this by running something like 90 different checkers over it. You can submit a binary, something you got as an attachment. You got a PDF or something like that you're afraid to open. Throw it up VirusTotal. Let's see what they say. It's a very good service. Here's Carlota, senior consultant at Critical Insight. Nope, Carlota is not. So fake profiles are everywhere now, and it's probably a good idea to go out and look at all the people on LinkedIn that work for your company and find out how many of those are fake, because they're everywhere. And there's a number of things that they could be doing. Catfishing is one of those, but my theory is that this is to gain trust with our customers, because our customers pay us, and at some point they're going to say, you know what, we were a Silicon Valley Bank customer and we changed banks and here's the new routing number, right? Business email compromise. It turns out LinkedIn doesn't really do anything about this, and they won't even engage on this. Okay, and here's a couple that could either be North Korean hackers trying to, gain access to our networks since we do security work. Could be catfishing, could be whatever. When somebody gives you a phone number, say, hey, let's just talk on the phone right away. Just get rid of them. Just block them. Do not entertain this stuff. Do not be fooled. These people are not who they say they are, and they have objectives that are detrimental to you. Fake receipts. These were everywhere when the pandemic started and people were buying Pelotons and things like that to exercise at home. Hey, did you buy this Peloton? Here's your receipt. So what this thing is asking you to do is engage through that phone number. They want you to call them. And when you do call them, they're going to go, okay, all right, so if this isn't right, then we have to reverse it. Give me the number of the credit card that you charged this on. And you're just giving up your credit card. That's all it is. All right. And this is increasingly common. So watch out for fake invoices, probably coming in through email. Look at the return address and find out, that's not PayPal. Okay, how could this be? Anxiety. All right. So this is not as big of a deal now, but we knew that when the apps came out that would tell you whether your phone was in close proximity to another phone that was owned by a person that tested positive for COVID. All right. Then the app would notify you, not a text message. A text message coming in out of the blue from a number you don't recognize that's not anticipated. Your first reaction is, this is fake. This is fake. I am not going to hit this link. When a link comes to you out of the blue and you didn't expect it, don't check it out. Okay, this one's got the big red. Dear Facebook user, all right, I ditched all social media except LinkedIn because marketing makes me do it long ago because I don't like creepy tracking. However, I do remember Facebook is supposed to know your damn name. They will never address you as dear Facebook user. What do you think happens when you hit update? It's going to ask you for your password. You're already logged in. You know you're already logged in. It doesn't ask you for a password if you're logged in. Stop. Look at all the information in front of you. Remember what you learned today. Ask a question if you need to. Delete, move on. So I know Kelly Bannon. Kelly Bannon is a friend of mine. I went to college with Kelly Bannon. Kelly lives in Simi Valley, California, and not Sri Lanka, which is what the .lk domain is. So Michael, link, Kelly, no context. All right. So this is Kelly has had her social media account probably compromised because somebody guessed a password, she reused a password, something like that. And now they send this out to her, her whole address book or followers or friends or whatever. All right. Links with no context are dangerous. All right. That was a whole bunch of bait. Let's look at some stuff around phones, right? So SIM swapping. So this actually happened to my wife a few months ago. So what is SIM swapping? So if I can collect enough public information on you to impersonate you to your phone company, I can say, I was crossing Puget Sound on a ferry, and it was a clear day, and I was taking a picture of Mount Rainier, and an orca jumped up and ate my phone. And so this is my new phone, and I need you to connect my old phone number to this new phone, okay? That's a SIM swap. If that is successful, that's a SIM swap. And if I've done that to you, I'm now holding your phone. Your phone. And so anything your phone can do, this phone can now do. So I can go to your Amazon account. I can say, I forgot my password. Okay, what's the code we just sent to your phone? Bingo. That's a SIM swap. It happens a lot. Generally with the smaller telecom providers, because the larger ones, it's happened to them so frequently, they have pretty good controls in place now, especially T-Mobile. T-Mobile especially was bad at this for a while. Much better now. So what's the message? If your phone stops working for an unknown reason, you can hold your telecom provider and say the following words. Have any changes been recently made to my account? If they say yes, turn everything off, right? Smishing. All right. So again, we use kind of dumb words. This is SMS, short message service, text message. It's phishing message over text message. And if you read the content of this message and you actually bite on this, there is nothing we can do for you. I'm sorry. And here is the American Hospital Association warning about deepfakes. And so now we can impersonate voices with a high degree of accuracy. So remember, we have that authority bias. Getting an email with a screwed up return address, that's one thing. Getting a phone call from the CEO asking you to do something might be a little more effective. So what do we need to do? We need to verify things. When you're asked to do something that it has some kind of financial implication, got to verify it. You've got to verify it. All right. And here's their extortion campaigns, even using this technique, right? That's the actual headline. Mom, these bad men have me, right? Scammers cloned her daughter's voice in a fake kidnapping, right? That stuff works. Don't take things like this at face value if they seem to be headed towards some kind of financial implication here or something like that, right? Got to verify these things independently. Right, the grandchild in trouble. I'm sure you've all heard of that. Grandpa, I was on spring break in Spain and they threw me in jail. I need you to bail me out. Well, if the voice sounds like the grandson, that might work. So you got to verify these things. Are you really in Spain? And really, don't type a URL that somebody gives you over a phone either. As a company that breaks into computer networks as well as throws bad guys out of computer networks, we know if we're having trouble getting into a network, we can just call the help desk, pretend to be a user, and say, look, just here, recreate the problem. Let me give you a URL. Just go to this in a web browser and you'll see exactly what I mean. Gotcha. Apps everywhere. Apps everywhere. So many bogus apps. So many are removed from app stores every day. So if you are an app user and you like to just kind of test all kinds of stuff, make sure the app has been in the store for a while, that it's been reviewed well, that it's got a certain number of downloads, that the reviews are from a sufficiently large sample size, right? A 5-star review from 3 people is statistical noise, means nothing. What do apps do? Well, they track your movements, and that location information is scarfed up by data brokers who will sell it to anyone. They can monitor your keystrokes to get your financial passwords, your cryptocurrency wallet password, whatever. They can hit ad networks in the background, and somebody gets paid for all the ad access and you're paying for all the network traffic. All right. So watch out for apps. Check them out, right? Also check out, see if there's any public reports of people claiming that these have gone bad. Removable media. All right, if you have a high schooler in your house, don't ever use that high schooler's USB stick. Don't. And in fact, when you go to a conference and the vendors are giving away conference swag, free USB sticks, don't take them. FBI warned recently that something called juice jacking, to watch out for the charging stations at airports. Today, there are I think there's in excess of 100 companies that the federal government is prohibited itself from doing business with, federal agencies, because there's surveillance and other bad technologies built into the electronic things that are shipped over from China. So, the FBI said, hey, use your own, charging adapter rather than those charging stations at airports. Um, again, as a company that breaks into computer networks, we know that if we're having any trouble getting in, we can just throw USB sticks in the parking lots, leave them in bathrooms, and just wait. And somebody will pick one of those up and be curious enough and jack it into a computer, and we gotcha. Right? So, removable media, handle it with care. Okay, miscellaneous stuff. This is actually my favorite part. All right, you are being pelted with ads for this thing called Temu, which fancies itself as a competitor to Amazon and other online retailers. And it's operated out of China, and it is direct manufacturer to consumer, so they cut out a lot of people in the middle, and they can offer these super low prices. A big analysis was done of PDD, which is the parent company. And they're saying, look, this business model does not work. Something else is up here. And you will note that if you are doing business with Temu, they're trying real hard to get you to put their app on the phone. All right, let's talk about that app, because here's an article that was written about them. And here's the money quote. Our experts identified a stack of software functions that are completely inappropriate and dangerous in this type of software. Temu uses them all. So when I said beware of apps, not just apps that you find in an app store, but if a company is trying to push one onto you directly and it has not gone through the process of being evaluated at an app store, probably want to stay away from it. Okay, now everybody's heard of the Nigerian prince. Okay, this is actually called an advance fee scam. Why advance fee? Because it's going to give you an offer of something of value, try to engage you as some kind of helper in this process, and they're going to start asking you for money right away. And it will never, ever stop. It has a lot of variations, okay? So here's somebody that wants to invest. Okay, sure you do, all right? I'm a soldier in Syria, and we have this barrel of money we're trying to move back into the country. I'm a dying widow, and I need someone to help me donate my fortune to charities. We are moving a pallet of gold from Thailand to China, and I need someone to help us with the logistics. I've seen these things happen, and I've seen people get caught up in these for years. Why? Because psychologically, after a certain amount of time, and you keep sending them money, hey, I have to pay a bribe, I have to file paperwork, I have to fly to the other side of the country for a meeting, I have to, you got to keep paying. It's really hard for somebody to get out of that, because you have to admit, I have been a dumbass the entire time. And psychologically, you just don't want to do that. So remember, these want you to engage with them. For the most part, what they do is this is a shotgun blast that goes out over the internet. These are not very targeted. And so it will go to undisclosed recipients. All right. If everybody's on the BCC list, it's going out to thousands of people. They're not trying to find you. And you will note that the first thing they want to know is, hey, what's your name? I've identified you. I would like to help you make a whole lot of money. What's your name? Right? Just doesn't make sense. Don't get caught up in these things. And if you know someone that's caught up in something like this, send them to this training. The patina of reality here, coming from, this person at the Postal Service. No, this is actually not somebody at the Postal Service. You can see from U.S. Postal Service, which is a Gmail account, to undisclosed recipients. We're all on the BCC list. Okay. What they're going to say is, we have this ATM card package for you, and you're going to have to pay us $150 to get that. this is probably like a one and done advanced fee scam. You're not going to get anything. And when they add, and here's a picture of my badge, so I'm real. American media literacy is so incredibly bad right now. And you can just hang something in front of someone and say, "Here's what this is." They go, "Oh, I believe that." I don't believe these things. This little add-on of this badge here means nothing. Okay, we talked about, phishing messages and bad grammar and things like that, and the fact that they're being assisted by generative AI right now. All right, so here's something that came to me, and it's very well written, and it's about Ron Conway, who is a billionaire. There were a couple of links to Forbes articles in here that I removed for brevity. You can see that it's written very well. And he's talking this my long story, and I'm a philanthropist, and we get to the second page, and there's the money quote in red. The purpose of this long, boring letter is that I've directed 500 million towards this cause, and I'm just going to give it away to people like you. I've identified your email. No, no. Going to ask you for money. We'll say, well, here's the processing fee for me to send you an ATM card with $500,000 on it. All right. Too good to be true. Came out of the blue. You were not specifically named as a recipient. It went to tons of people. Do not be fooled. Even though the grammar is better, these things are improving. YouTube comment scams. All right, so I am not a musician. I am a drummer. I hang around with musicians. But I do know Rick Beato. And if you are a musician, you probably know who Rick Beato is too. He does What Makes This Song Great, top 20 guitar intros, all kinds of stuff. And so somebody on YouTube has a channel, and there are comments. Somebody will leave a comment after someone's video, after watching someone's video, and then somebody that looks like the owner of the channel will come in and say, "Hey, I've identified you randomly to win a prize. Let's go to this other communication channel and talk about it." All right. That could be trying to get your credit card. That could be an advanced fee scam. That could be all manner of things. Could end up with malware on your computer. So just be aware that this scam is out there. And the key tell is, hey, let's go to this other communication channel. The computer support scam. So I think a lot of people know about the computer support scam. Why does this pop up? Because the site you're on has been injected. That's why. All right. How do you get rid of this? You close the tab. Probably not going to come back because it seems to be random. You can't go to the same site again and have it happen again. Lately, they've engineered one where this will not pop up in the middle of your browser. It will rise from the tray like actual Microsoft messaging. Don't let that fool you. So if it pops up in your browser, close the tab, it's gone. If it pops up out of the tray, you need to clear the cache in your browser, then it's gone. Right? If you engage with these people and you call that phone number, they're going to they'll say, hey, we connect your computer. They'll give you a URL over the phone to type in, okay? And you connected that URL, and they connected that URL, and that site joins the two so that the remote end can act like help desk and move the mouse around, things like that. They're going to run a bunch of fake tools. It's going to say, oh, you're loaded down with viruses. Oh, it says here your support contract is lapsed. Do you want to buy a new one? And then you're going to have to give them a credit card. Starts a very bad series of events. Don't engage with. I got a call last week from a guy I know who is ordinarily very careful, and he said, I called the number, and here's what they did. Same thing, exactly what I just told you. And he said, eventually sounded scammy, so I just hung up on him. That's the thing to do. Actually, the thing to do is don't call him in the first place. Okay, be our secret shopper, huh? Yeah, be our agent. Now there's some legit secret shopper stuff that people actually contract you to do, but don't get fooled. What they do is they send you a check. Here's the check. It's right around $2,000. Why? Because it's probably in somebody's checking account. All right, so they're going to say, all right, look, we sent you enough money to cover this stuff. There's probably extra. So you're going to keep $400 and for doing these tasks. Number one, go to this gym, get a workout. Write us a report on the availability of equipment and the cleanliness of the gym and the support staff and all of that. Then we want you to go to this restaurant, have a meal, and write a report on food quality, service, cleanliness of the establishment. And then, okay, whatever's left over, keep $400 for yourself. And then whatever the leftover is, wire it away to this Western Union address. And then write us a report on Western Union and whether or not you still think that's a viable money transfer option in the days of Zelle and other, money movement schemes. And then your bank will call you about 6 days later, and they're going to say, that check you deposited, it had a real bank routing number on it, so we sent it to the other bank, but they just sent it back and said this is a forgery. So we have to take that $1,850 back out of your account. So I hope you enjoyed the workout and the meal because you wired away your own money. You can see that there's mistakes on this check. Portland, Oregon, US Bank Corp instead of US Bank Corp. Don't get involved with these things at all, because some of this is laundering money. And if it is determined by law enforcement that you participated in a money mule scheme, they're not going to care whether you knew or not. You're still going to get arrested. All right, just a few do's and don'ts, and then we done. And you know what? We had to come to this part. Don't follow every damn link you get in email. In fact, it's best not to use personal email at all on a work computer. Personal use on a personal device is really the way to go, right? Facebook lives here. Gmail lives here. Fake apps, they're everywhere. You got to check them out. The bait. We showed a lot of examples of bait. Remember the tactics, right? Those cognitive biases that they're trying to elicit a response by using. Okay? Yes, the internet is lying to you. It sells to you, it steals from you, and manipulates your opinion. And as we get closer to an election, that whole opinion manipulation through disinformation is going to be rampant. Patch your vulnerabilities, keep your stuff updated. Don't go around security controls that your organization has put in place. You get the big red page from Microsoft, go, we really don't think you ought to go any further. Don't go any further. Don't be curious and hit a phishing link just because you want to see whether or not the site on the other end looks good or not. Okay? Don't reuse passwords. That's a biggie. In fact, it's a really good idea to use a password manager, a vault. We use Keeper at CI, and we recommend that Bitwarden is used at home. Don't pick up USB sticks and jack them into computers. Real bad juju comes from that. If you find a USB stick lying around somewhere, that's a trap. Do use multi-factor authentication and full disk encryption. Just for a second, I'm going to explain multi-factor authentication because I think it's not well understood by some. So if you if you're in a rural area and you use a credit union, and you go to the credit union site and you're logged in, username, password. Okay, what was the color of your first car? Okay, yellow. All right, that is not multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is defined as two or more of the following: something you know, something you have, something you are. That's it. Something you know is a password. Something you have is a phone. And if I send you a code to your phone and you type in the correct code, I know you're holding that phone. Something you are, your iris print, your palm print. More than anything else, if you see something, say something. You will have some way to report things in a business context. There will be a help desk at least that you can call. Hey, I I got the notice about the new office occupancy policy, and I went to go get it, and I logged into SharePoint, but there was no such policy there. Or I just got off this website, and now my computer is really slow, right? If you see something like that, it's a really good idea to say something. Because remember, stuff like ransomware can propagate through an environment, and if you put out the grease fire on the stove, the house will never be engulfed in flames. And with that, Ellie, back to you.
Hi. Hopefully, everybody thought that was not boring. I always find it riveting, and I am forced. I mean, I get the privilege to do this every
Forced.
other week with Mike. So, thank you guys for sticking with us. Again, you are doing good for the world by being here and taking these things to practice, whether you're doing it just for yourself or if you are mandated to be here, or if you're like, you know what, that was really helpful. My marketing and sales team really needs to hear this. We have a link to our YouTube page that you are able to go and find all of our pre-recordings of not only this type of educational camaraderie, but we also have it for different webinars as well. Like I mentioned, Ginny is going to put in the chat a survey link. I know the irony that we told you not to click on any links and now we're asking you to click on a link. Use Mike's tactics, hover over it, make sure that it's a legit site, click on it and fill it out for us. We'd really appreciate it. But we are actually not going to stay on to answer any questions today because Mike needs to go catch a ferry,
I
but I will
do.
put my email in here so you guys have it. If you're one of those people that likes to write it down, totally get it. It is my first name that you can see on that little square, Ellie.Miller, like Miller Lite, at criticalinsight.com. And no, we are not sponsored by Miller Lite. If we were to do any beer, it would be Rainier because we are from Seattle. All right, everybody, have a fabulous Friday. Have a fabulous Thanksgiving, and hopefully have a few beers
Yep.
in the
Bye,
meantime.
everybody. Thanks, Ellie.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.